Hey, what is up, y'all? This is Douglas. Welcome to the Bazaar C. And today I wanted to talk about Dooley. I'm going to be doing a guide on this little fella, in particular, how to navigate day one, item priorities, merchant priority, whether you want to visit a event or check out a merchant for particular items. In addition to that, I'm going to be talking about some items that you absolutely have to buy, whether it be in the early game, in the mid game. Like these items just kind of encompass the general game plan for Dooley, and they benefit you whether you are playing this kind of build or not. And then after that, I'm going to be covering a few skills, kind of more in line with Dooley's core. And on that note, I won't be giving you like a guide for Dooley's core. I feel like Dooley's core is kind of the beauty about this hero in particular, that it allows you a lot of pivoting. So I won't really necessarily cover like what core you would want to pick. It totally depends on the build that you are building right as you play the game. If you want a Dooley core guide, I would be more than happy to do that. But it would probably be in a separate video. So with that being said, let's cover some of Dooley's items. Actually, Dooley's items or his merchants. Let's do items first because I feel like you kind of want to get some context as to what items I prioritize in order to get ahead in the early days. Because honestly, the early days are probably the most important victories that you depend on if you're trying to like clutch out early games, right? Or close it out, because the more you play the Bazaar, the harder it gets, because like the late game stages are just littered with crazy boards, right? So winning early on is really important. But sometimes I do prioritize econ over a victory if I get the options that give me more econ throughout the late game, right? Or just throughout the game. So let's see what item I should go through first. Since I'm going to be talking about econ, let's go through the satcom. Now, the satcom is super good, not only for econ scaling, but it generally gives you a lot of friends, whether it be from your own hero or from every hero, right? That's the beauty about the satcom. This item allows you to get friends from any hero, right? And Karnak has been out for a few weeks now, but you can get a lot of good friends from Karnak, because Karnak has a lot of really good friends that incorporate haste and flying, and Dooley kind of has a lot of friends or builds that kind of utilize that. So satcoms is really good for econ scaling, pivoting, or developing builds, because getting random items just throughout your playing is really nice and beneficial, right? Sometimes you'll need additional econ to buy an item that you don't have enough gold for, or you might end up getting a duplicate or a new friend that you want to play with, right? So this item is really strong for both its utility and econ scaling. And on top of that, I usually always forget that the Satcom has a hidden choice. If you happen to visit the street festival, it's the choice that offers you 3 different merchants from the bazaar. If you have the Satcom, you have the options to gain 2 income and 2 XP. And dude, that's huge. There's a lot of things that I value in the bazaar, but I would probably prioritize econ and XP the most out of everything, because getting ahead in gold and level is so important, dude. And it could really close out games if you have a lot of gold, right? To buy items that you don't have access to, or get ahead of the game as far as your level goes. So Satcom is incredibly useful, dude. Much utility. So definitely pick up the Satcom at bronze. It starts at bronze, right? So you can have immediate access. And on that note, moving on to the temporal navigator, dude. The temporal navigator is so good, not only for its utility, but its econ scaling as well. And the temporal navigator is even more for econ, because this item in particular gives you relics of any size if you have the board space. But if you scale it to gold, you can, or even to silver, I believe there's some relics that are starting at silver tiers. So this item in particular does give you a lot of econ, and sometimes will give you items that can potentially, enable a pivot in the bazaar, which is the name of the game, dude. You have to learn how to pivot. Um, the temporal navigator is really strong, dude. If you get it to diamond and gold, you get like access to some crazy items for sure. Again, really good for econ scaling. This item is really strong for like dino builds as well, because it is a tech item and the dinos are not are not tech items, you can use this as a like haste activator for those items. Right? I'm getting a little bit off tangent, but the temporal navigator is really strong, dude, for econ scaling and item generation. It's just so strong. This is another item that I would definitely pick up if I see it on the shop. And I think my favorite item to get from the temporal navigator, there is a ton, by the way. There is so many relic tagged items in this game, so it's kind of hard to like specifically get an item that you want. However, one of my favorite items to get at bronze tier is the star chart, which is Vanessa's item, and that item allows you for more XP scaling. Right, if you visit the dock event, you have access to Vanessa's XP scaling. So that one in particular is one of my favorite items to get because again, getting ahead as far as XP and gold is super important. So definitely pick up the temporal navigator. After that, we can talk about the granola bar. This item is crazy, man. It took me a while to really utilize this item. I underestimated this item, dude. It's just Dooley has a lot of tools and tech items from his merchants, right? So this is just like a passive scaler. And with the nice econ scaling that I just mentioned, the temporal navigator and satcom, you have access to gold, right? To spend to start stacking the health accumulation on this dude because due to the nerfs to chocolate bars, their availability is rarer and the knee brace got a big nerf a few patches ago. Like with max health gain has been nerfed throughout the bazaar in the past few seasons. Like with that being gone, this item in particular is really strong. If you have more health than your opponent, that can go a long way too, right? Like there have been games where chocolate bars have like saved an entire run, right? Because I managed to survive by like 5 or 50 health, right? And Girnola just kind of provides that in a different way. Granted, you do have to like micromanage your econ and your items because you have to be selling and buying and maintaining enough gold to pivot or whatever, you know. So this item is really strong, dude. Do not underestimate this Gearnola bar because man, the health scaling can be pretty far. And you know, one thing to note as well is you can sell it early on if you want like tempo max health. Like if you want to tempo your max health, if you feel like you're not gonna win a particular matchup, right? Or if you feel like you need some extra more health. The beautiful thing about selling it on early on is you can find it again as you're playing in the later stages of the game, so you can start stacking some more max health again, right? And again, due to the nerfs, the chocolate bars and the knee brace, it's a lot harder to gain additional max health on top of the ones you get from like leveling up or like inspired events. So definitely get the geared Nolo bar if you want to like naturally just gain health over time because Dooley is buying and selling. Just Dooley has a lot of access to tools and tech items, right? So this item is really good, dude. Do not sleep on this item, dude. Definitely buy the Gear Nola bar. We did those, and then now we're kind of moving on to. I kind of covered like the econ choices and health stacking. Now I'm moving on to like if you want to guarantee your early day victories, then these are the items that you want to buy. And the first one is the claw arm. Man, the claw arm is so crazy. I feel like this item has been nerfed a couple times already, but this item continues to be a powerhouse in the early game, dude. And I feel like in general, right now in the current season of the Bazaar, which is season 12, weapons are really strong in the early game. And this is no different, dude. In addition to this item scaling over time with haste, it scales the weapon to the left, right? So I'm going to show you a few items in conjunction that work with the claw arm on day one, right? So you can utilize this build to close out the early days. But dude, the claw arm is just so good, man. Every time you haste this, rem- it has to the claw arm has to be hasted, right? It has to be specifically targeted. Then it'll get the passive buff for your weapon and the one to the left, right? It's a strong item, dude, and it starts at bronze, so it's a lot easier to find. I feel like at some point this item might get moved to silver because of its utility, dude. It's just so consistent in the early days, dude. It's so strong. And because you want ways to haste the claw arm, right? You're like, man, how am I gonna haste it in the early days? You have two options. You have the cog, which is a little bit harder to utilize because this one in particular hastes a random adjacent item, right? It's not haste the item to the left or haste the item to the right. It's randomized. However, if you do position it in a way to only target like a left item, then obviously you can manipulate it that way, right? So use the cog to haze the claw arm in order to gain damage. And then the easiest one to utilize is the levitation pad. The levitation pad is so strong for the claw arm, dude, because what oh my god, what the levitation pad does is the item to the left of this is hasted for 1 to 4 seconds. So again, all of these items are available day one at bronze. So it's a really easy build to make, and it's just so strong. So those are the two items that kind of guarantee haste on the claw arm. You obviously have different options, right? Like first aid in and other randomized haste options, but these two are like the most consistent ways to haste the claw arm. And you're wondering like, what weapon should I pair it with the claw arm? I'll give you two different weapons. First we have the rocket launcher. Again, this weapon is so strong at bronze, dude. A multicast of 3, and this item not only does damage, it applies burn. And with an item like claw arm, okay, you kind of start brainstorming as to why these items become a problem, right? Rocket launcher is really strong with the combination of the claw arm and any haste combination. It's strong, dude. It's really strong. So these are some of like the aggressive choices that you would want to make if you are leaning into more like guaranteeing your victories as opposed to your econ. You can do a little bit of both, right? Sometimes you get lucky in that regard, but I like to give you a little bit of flexibility. And then after that, is another weapon that I like to use. This one again requires a little bit more setup, and this is the pulse rifle. The pulse rifle. This one is a little bit more different, right? You have to have a friend adjacent to it in order for this to gain multicast. So this one definitely requires more setup, but an example would be you have the first aid in, you have the pulse rifle, you have the claw arm, and then you have either the levitation pad or the cog. So that's a board that you can always compile in day one because all these items are available in day one, right? But again, with the pulse rifle, it is stronger because it's faster. However, it requires more setup. Both strong choices though. The pulse rifle and the rocket launcher are incredibly strong items, dude. So with like those weapon choices, you can optimize your day one pretty well, dude. It's such a strong way to close out your games. And then just two additional ones that kind of have different functionality for the later games. The SMG. This item is just a good activator for proccing your core, right? Or anything that requires like fast procs. 2 seconds is really strong. And in particular, this one is really good because you can find it via the enchanted item option when you level up. Either you pick the shiny option, right, which gives you an enchanted item, or the bronze skills. And this one is a good item to get at that level up choice because the enchantments for the SMG are really strong. So this one is a little bit more niche. It's utilized more in the later stages as a game, more as a board activator. But it's strong. It's really strong. And then the last item, which is much later. This one is kind of cheating, but the scrap metal is so good, man. Again, Dooley is buying and selling tools and tech items all the freaking time, dude. So all you have to do with the scrap metal is buy 6 tool or tech items, and then you are able to upgrade your leftmost item. Whatever, right? Whatever upgrade it is, whether it be from bronze to silver or diamond to or gold to diamond. This shit is strong, dude. The scrap metal is really good. And in addition to The upgrade, it gives you cooldown reduction, which is also really, really strong. Scrap metal is super, super good, dude. Always get the scrap metal, dude. Oh yeah, one more, one more. All right, this one's a little bit cheating too. This has nothing to do with the with day one, but the Dualtron mainframe. Buy this item if you are specifically playing a Dualtron build, because as you'll learn, as I'll show you a skill later on, whatever item has a core type, Dooley has access to a skill that levels up your core, and that starts at silver. And if you manage to have like Dualtron in your stash, you can get that upgrade, dude, passively. Like it'll upgrade not only your regular core, but your Dualtron, or hell, any item that manages to get the core type. You know, like expeditions, like the crash site expedition has that item that can give you random tags, right? Like if you just happen to have an item that has the core tag and you utilize that skill, uh, this item is really strong on top of its utility, obviously. So I covered the items, and then now as far as merchants, first let's go through the events. Dooley has access to a strange mushroom, as with any hero, but Dooley in particular gets access to a small silver tiered friend. And I like this option a lot because if you play a lot of the Bazaar, I've kind of covered this in other videos, but um, getting items that are ahead of its tier in early, these are really, really strong. You know, sometimes this could be a dud, right? You might get a item that is not as strong, and you're kind of relying on the game's RNG in order for you to get a good item to utilize, right? But I would argue that if you play enough of the Bazaar, or you have like a lot of knowledge of the items and their functionality, I think you can always utilize this to its best potential. You generally get a lot of good items. I like getting first aid in from a strange mushroom. Like you can get duplicates that way, right? It's really, really strong in my opinion. But again, this is at the expense of the game. You're gonna get a random friend, right? So if you don't like that, then obviously I wouldn't prioritize a strange mushroom. But I like getting free items early on because it saves you on your gold. You can prioritize your merchants later on as the game progresses. And again, this shit's free. So consider a strange mushroom, and then I'll give you kind of like the counter arguments as to why you would prefer to visit a merchant over visiting these events. But sticking on events, I want to talk about the jungle ruins. This one is a little bit similar to the strange mushroom. However, this one gives you a small tool or silver tiered weapon from any hero, right? So the same thing applies for the jungle ruins as the strange mushroom. If you have a lot of knowledge about the game, then you can utilize this item to its best potential. However, it is at the expense of RNG, right? It's going to be a random item, but it's really, really strong, man. You reserve econ and you get a item that is ahead of its tier. And you can get duplicates that way, right? I think I mentioned that for the strange mushrooms. Now, let's talk about a few of the merchants that you can find early on. We have Mattel. This is the medium merchant, right? They sell medium-sized items, and as I gave you contextual clues as to what items you would particularly want to visit, right? You would want to get the Satcom, Temporal Navigator, rocket launcher, claw arm, pulse rifle. Like with everything that I gave you, you have the choices and general knowledge to uh, prioritize either getting those items or going to a strange mushrooms, right? Like this is where the priority comes for either merchants or events. If you feel more comfortable with getting a random item, then obviously visit a strange mushroom or jungle ruins. But if you want to prioritize closing out your games, whether it be via econ scaling or like guaranteeing your wins via the weapons, like kind of like the build that I mentioned, then you obviously pick Mattel. Um, and you can narrow it down, right? You can visit Ayla, and Ayla is the weapons merchant, and for her, you can find again the claw arm, the rocket. There's so many items with the rocket launcher, the pulse rifle, the SMG. Like again, there is a whole list of items that you can buy from this merchant, right? And as far as priority, the same context that I gave you for Mattel purely comes to preference. And then another merchant would be Kina. This is the non-item merchant, and she obviously sells items like the gear Nola, the cog, the levitation pad. So again, more context, right, as to what items you want to pick up. And the more knowledge you know about these merchants and what they sell, then the more priority you start giving to them, right? So definitely think about these choices as you're playing the game. I'm not like I'm not like the arbiter of truth or whatever, I'm just letting you know like these are choices that you can make while playing the game. So with all the items, all the merchant knowledge, I hope this helps you a little bit as far as navigating the first day in the bazaar. I feel like those are uh the hardest choices you make in the game, right? Because again, I think winning early on is super important, and prioritizing things like econ and guaranteeing a win can go a long way, right? If you lose, then you at least have some econ scaling to fall back on, right? And if you manage to win your first day and do some of the things that I mentioned, then you are gonna be killing it in the bazaar, dude. Again, this is not like the end all be all guide. I just this is how I navigate the first couple of days in the bazaar. And I hope that these contextual items and some of the things that I showed you helped with navigating the game. I feel like I already said that, but thanks for watching, y'all. If you like this guide, let me know if you want more or if you want like a Dooley core guide, then I'd be more than happy to. Thanks for watching, y'all. I really appreciate all the support, and I'll see you on the next Bazaar video. Peace.